Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 61 of Lazio Lounge, post Lazio-Roma derby. I'm alive. That's the first thing I want to tell everybody because the derby for me is particular, being from Rome. For me, it's really a special match. I don't know about yourself, Alistair.
Of course, I think for every Lazio fan, it's a special match. It's the one you want to win the most, and actually, funnily enough, it's the one you want to avoid losing the most. And for me, that's how this game came across tonight. Was two teams who seemed to be quite scared of losing the game, and as a result, it's finished 0-0, which is probably a fair result, I would say. Although there were definitely encouraging signs from a Lazio perspective, and it was a big improvement on what we saw on Thursday, at least.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice reaction from the team. After what happened Thursday, they started both half really solid. In the first half, Lazio, the first 10-15 minutes, I think it was great. And the same thing in the second half, Lazio started really strong. What missed probably tonight was the finishing. Ciro Immobile had one chance, but I thought it was very difficult. I thought Parolo had on his foot twice the chance to score and win the match. But yeah, I thought Lazio played better, but Roma had probably the two biggest chances. They hit the post twice.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, I think that after Thursday, what our biggest concern was about the defence. Conceding 3 goals in 4 minutes. And I think from that perspective, the fact that the teams managed to turn around within, 3 days, it's a huge game in terms of what it means for the Champions League race, as well as what it means simply in terms of being a derby. To turn around and be able to put in a defensive performance like that, I think is really impressive, because although Roma did manage to hit the woodwork twice, it was much better. The structure was a lot more sound. There were fewer holes for them to exploit. It just seemed like a much better organised team. And even when we went down to 10 men, which I have to say seemed inevitable from the first half onwards, even after that moment, we still managed to organise things pretty well. And yeah, there are those flurry of chances for Dzeko at the end, but actually, I think that's the most encouraging thing from the whole game for me. Really, was the defence.
I agree with you. Honestly, I thought after the yellow card that Leva would never finish the match. I thought the red card was coming, so I was a little bit surprised that it was Radu. Well, not that much surprised. I think Radu has been sent off a couple of times already in the derby. Again, I thought the second yellow card was a stupid decision by Radu, because he was never going to get that ball. I think Strakosha, or the central defender, would anticipate Under by far. So sometimes we tend to make stupid mistakes that cost us a lot. So, but again, I don't want to sound too. But Ramos had another astonishing match. He has been really good. And the fact that Roma had only one chance till Lazio was with 11 players says a lot. And, Roma, we know what he did Tuesday. So you cannot say, you're playing against Benevento. I thought the defense was great. But yeah, at a certain point, especially in the second half, I was thinking that Lazio could have won this match.
Yeah, I was really encouraged by the impact Lukaku made, actually. I think we've been waiting to see that from him for a while, and when the changes were made in the second half at the usual 60-minute mark, Inzaghi decided to take off Anderson and bring on Alberto, and take off Lulic and bring on Lukaku. And I think that from that moment onwards, we were really in control of the game, and we had a really good spell for about 10-15 minutes there, where we were kind of constructing everything in the right way, but it just wasn't quite coming together. I don't know what the reason for that was. There's Ciro Immobile, for me, didn't look on top of his game tonight. He looked tired. He's looked tired for a while, but I think he looked tired tonight again. But yeah, for me, it's not as much of a concern though in attack, because this is a team that can score goals and does score a lot of goals. So I think that's in a way going to be easier for this team to find again, is the way to go, rather than the way of keeping a clean sheet. So to keep a clean sheet in such a high profile match is a really big deal for this team, I think. It's a shame we can take any of those chances and win it, but at the same time, like you mentioned Felipe Luis there, he was very good, and that's really encouraging. I think that's, even once this team went down to 10 men and had to change shape to a back four, which the last time I think we saw that was against Napoli, which went disastrously badly. It's very encouraging against a Roma team that we were a bit worried about, given what they achieved on Tuesday night, and that they'd had 2 more days extra rest from us. I think overall it's pretty positive.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought when down 10 men and we had the biggest chance of the match, the one that I think Sharawi deflected on Mars. Oh my! I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
But another thing that I like really a lot, I don't know if our followers will agree with me, is the fact that we were 1 man down, but even like that, we keep pushing. And, we had that chance, we had another couple, and Roma was struggling. So I thought it was really a positive sign that even down 10 men with, 10 minutes to go, Lazio still tried to find the goal to win the match. It was risky, obviously. Roma had a couple of counter-attack that could have been really dangerous, but I like that type of mentality.
Yeah, and also with Milinkovic-Savic as your centre forward, and I thought that was quite interesting because we've not really seen that so far, obviously, and it was more out of necessity than anything else that he ended up there, because there was only one substitute left to make. But he's almost the ideal counter-attack centre forward, because he's a target man, you can aim for him, but then he's obviously got brilliant feet, so he was capable of creating if he's drawn out wide in the way that he did towards the end. And like you said, the chance that Marasic very nearly had was a real chance to win the game. It was encouraging to see Lazio. I think just tactically they were very smart, and I think Inzaghi did very well. After taking a fair bit of criticism from us and a few others on Thursday night, he seemed to have really good control of this game, a really good understanding of the best way to approach it and how to adapt to the way that the game was going. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think Inzaghi he had the upper hand tonight over Di Francesco in terms of the way that he was setting things out tactically.
Yeah, I totally agree. And before switching to the tactics, I thought Milinkovic-Savic played better as centre forward than midfielder today. I thought he had a much better match there than he played better than the last matches, but it's still not the Milinkovic-Savic we are used to. And I think that's one of the reasons why Lazio played well, but wasn't often very dangerous tonight. Talking about tactics, usually Simone Inzaghi and his team is very good tactic-wise. I thought that he prepared well the match. They knew that Roma was probably playing with the same tactic they used against Barcelona, and so they were prepared. I thought Marusic stepped up, had a very good match. Lulic didn't play that well, but I thought Lulic wasn't in great condition. And the only biggest problem was, I thought, at the end of the first half when Lucas Leiva was, already had the yellow card, had to control a little bit, and there in the middle of the midfield, Lazio struggled. But Inzaghi fixed a couple of things in the second half, and I thought Lazio had, Nainggolan disappeared, so Lazio had a better match than Roma, I thought.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just a strange one where I think overall we had the better play, but Roma had the better opportunities. particularly the ones that came at the end. But yeah, I think the substitutes made a good impact, which was nice to see. To be honest, I don't know if you agree with me, but I was a bit surprised. Well, not surprised because it seemed like the obvious move to make, but in a way, I thought Felipe Anderson. He's such a mood player, and sometimes you get the feeling that he's in the mood, and sometimes you can plainly see that he isn't. And tonight, I think I got the impression that he was really up for it, and he had quite a free role in the first half, and he was drifting around and going a lot of dribbles, and he wasn't getting an awful lot of end product, but he did seem more likely than most other players on the pitch to make something happen. So I was a bit disappointed when I saw him coming off after 60 minutes, because I felt like he was more likely than the rest of the team to actually find a way through. But in the end, Alberto made a good impact from the bench, so it's quite hard to criticise.
Yeah, Patrick Bowman on Twitter said, Anderson was really good tonight. Still, I feel Inzaghi did the right subs for this situation. I thought Felipe started very well in the first half. Then, I don't know if Roma defender organized a little bit better to stop his pace. But in the second half, we didn't see that much Felipe Anderson, and I thought you need a Luis Alberto type of player, the assist man, to get the ball to Immobile, and I thought that was what happened. I don't know if you noticed, he wasn't happy to get out, but still he didn't create any. He gave the hand to Luis Alberto. Gave the hand to Simone Inzaghi, so there's not the risk to have another situation like before Napoli. So I thought that was good, and I think the real problem is that he has to change or Felipe Anderson or Milinkovic-Savic. I think Milinkovic-Savic is too valuable. He can play in different positions. He defends much better than Felipe Anderson. So I thought in a match like that, the only subs you can make was Felipe Anderson.
Well, yeah, it wasn't a surprising sub, but at the same time, I just think he seemed a lot more dangerous than other people on the pitch, and I think making a double change as well at that point of the game was quite a risky move in many ways, just because we had so many players on yellow cards. Obviously Lucas, who you mentioned before, and then Radu and Luis Felipe as well. So there was always the potential for us to go a man down. I don't know if this is a good time to talk about the Radu red cards. I mean, I thought both of the yellow cards he picked up were stupid tonight. I mean, he didn't need to do either of them. The first one, he knew exactly that he was going to get a yellow card for what he was doing, but he's at the touchline. There's no particular danger, and I don't think he needs to do it. And the second one is completely pointless. So, in my opinion, I'm not giving him an awful lot of sympathy tonight. I think he's only got himself to blame. And I was a bit worried because he was the one who, players come off at halftime and they get interviewed by the media quite just for a couple of lines generally. And he was saying, that everyone's going to be nervous, but Lazio need to be aggressive in order to win the game. And I was thinking at the time, when he's already on a yellow card, and this is a guy who feels the derby more than most, and he's coming off at halftime with a yellow card, talking about being aggressive, and I was thinking, oh God, and then it happened, but I don't know if you agree with that at all.
I thought the first yellow card, he probably made the right decision. Schick was going away and probably was putting it in the box, so it could have been a dangerous chance for Roma. So I understand the yellow card there. I thought the second one, and I said it already before, it was a stupid decision. Maybe someone, De Vrij or someone else, should have called him because the ball was far too long for Under to get there. So, you made the mistake. You forgot to cover the inside, but still he won't never get it. So, let it pass and don't do nothing because you already had a yellow card. I thought it was maybe a little bit too hard to give the second yellow card there, but we are not surprised about the referee decision. So he still made a stupid mistake and he paid it. But as you said, Radu is the type of player who feels a lot of the derby. So maybe it would have been wiser for Inzaghi to play someone else instead of Radu. Maybe Caceres, I don't know.
No, I think you've got to have guys like that in the team for the derby. Radu's an obvious derby player, but yeah, I mean, he did just seem to get to him a bit too much tonight. And I think the only positive really was that by the time we had a man sent off, there were only 10 minutes left. I was a bit worried that would happen sooner. I mean, I think it says a lot, though, about Lucas's experience that I thought he started the game very badly by his own high standards. He was giving the ball away and obviously got a yellow card very quickly. But it says a lot about his experience that he is capable of playing in that position and knowing what challenges to not go into. And you could see him throughout the game making decisions to not go into certain challenges, not go into certain 50-50s. And he actually had, I felt, pretty good control over his own situation in terms of the risk of getting another yellow.
You know what? Lazio, especially when playing with a three-man defense, struggled when playing against three striker. Roma played with this 3-4-2-1. And so Leva, who usually has one man in front of him or none, this time had two. So especially at the beginning, it was difficult for him to choose which one to pick, Nainggolan or Schick. And so I thought that was the reason why he got the yellow card. He was struggling to find the right position. But, his experience helped him. And I thought Nainggolan disappeared after 25, 35 minutes. In the second half, we didn't see Nainggolan. And I thought all the credit is to Lucas Leiva. So, again, one of the reasons why we have Lucas Leiva is his experience and his ability to perform well in this very important matches, which is one of the biggest difference between him and Biglia, I think. Talking about a question, delaziali.com, who is your man of the match? Who should have won? What's your thought, Alistair? Man of the match?
Man of the match? I think, given the the scale of the match, what it meant versus his own experience so far, I think Luis Felipe really put in a fantastic shift tonight. We've been very impressed all season long in terms of the opportunities he's been given, with how well he's adapted and looked confident in these situations despite not having much experience. But although he did pick up a yellow card tonight, I thought he had a really good game, timed his challenges very well, looked very confident, looked calm and composed. And considering this is a 21-year-old who's basically come into the team without really anyone expecting him to, and who also had a very difficult night 3 days ago, there's a lot of pressure on him to have a good performance tonight, and a lot of people who were expecting him not to. So for me, with all that context, I would say Luis Felipe.
Yeah, I probably agree, which is strange. But I thought he had a great match again. And you're right, he's only 21, so he's really young. But he's growing match after match, which is really encouraging because, these type of players, when they start, when they're very young, they had like 4 or 5 very good matches. Then they start to realize, I'm become a starter. I'm a real professional player at high level, and start making mistakes or feel a little bit worried or concerned, etc. Instead, he's playing even better. You can see him in a couple of chances taking the ball and getting out and try to start and get dangerous. So it's really positive seeing a player like him growing like that. As you said, I didn't like very much Ciro Immobile tonight. It's true that he was most of the time 1 against 3, but I thought he can do a little bit more. And one thing, I don't like is in the second half he went in the box and dived badly. Now this is something I don't want to see from my player. If you get touched and it's a penalty, okay, you can dive, but just dive to hope to get a penalty, especially now that there is the VAR, so they're going to review it. And you know that if you give a penalty to Lazio, they're going to review it. Then you're going to get a yellow card and nothing else. So I don't want this type of players. Let's leave it to the other teams.
I'm still a bit split on that because the one angle I saw, it looked terrible from his perspective, and another angle I saw, it did look like, was it Jesus? I can't remember which defender it was, but it did look like the defender came across him. And, you know, it's obviously not great, but it is just widely accepted now that when strikers know they're not going to get to the ball, they go down easily. I'm not sure I'd quite categorise it as a dive from one of the angles I saw, which was a reverse angle. But
no,
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, he dived badly. Patrick Bowman, I feel it's okay like this. We deserve more. They were closer. Even referee was good. Just feel Jesus should have a straight red on Parolo's challenge. I'm proud. We are fantastic. Sempre forza Lazio. Yeah, I thought Lazio played better, and that's really encouraging, especially after what happened Thursday. I thought the reaction was really good. It's good to see the mindset of the players. And really, we thought it was tiredness, but physically Lazio ran more than Roma, so that was really impressive. Talking about that decision, yeah, I thought Jesus made a very bad foul on Parolo. Could have been a red card directly because he doesn't go on the ball, but I think the referee wasn't that bad tonight, so that's a good news for Lazio.
Yeah, I think he was quite consistent, which is good, which sometimes you don't often see in Serie A.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so I don't think we can have too many complaints there. But yeah, that foul, I don't think it was a straight red. I think it was probably yellow card tackle.
An orange colour.
An orange, yeah, a dark yellow, yeah.
Something in between.
But Marco Parolo, by the way, I mean, we were just talking about man of the match. I think he would be close behind Felipe for me, particularly for his first half performance. I thought he was excellent in the first half, always supporting the attack. You know, we're used to seeing him put in an enormous amount of distance with how much he runs during games, but he really, you know, in derby games, you want to see players giving it 100%, and that's exactly what we got from Parolo tonight. I think he was excellent. He didn't look like a guy who's tiring, like most of the rest of the squad does. And yeah, he does. He just covers the whole pitch, does everything, supports the attack, gets back in defence, and I think he was definitely one of our best players tonight.
Yeah, if he would have scored in the first half when he had that great chance, probably he would have been my man of the match. I thought there you must hit at least the target, you know, get the goal and then see what happened if the goalie saved it or not. But anyway, this season you know what you're getting from Parolo, right? He's always running, he's always dangerous, and you know he's going to give you everything. So that was really good, as usual.
Yeah, but I don't think we should take that for granted. I mean, this tends to be what we always say about Parolo is, you know, what you're going to get. He's always good, and it's Parolo kind of thing. But it's worth sometimes appreciating that is really impressive that he is always this consistently reliable, and when he has a particularly good game like he does tonight, I think he's worth flagging up.
Especially because we are at the end of the season and he's 33 and he's still running like I don't know, all the match, 90 minutes, 95 minutes. He's always running, so it's incredible. Brun05, at what point do we stop playing De Vrij? Surely we cannot play him against Inter, if it will determine which side finish top 4. When do we stop playing? I don't know, never. When he leaves Lazio, I think.
I'm honestly really surprised by that coming tonight. I thought De Vrij had a good game tonight. I think he intercepted play well. Dzeko basically didn't look like he was on the pitch for the first 89 minutes. He made a lot of good interceptions. He closed down Nainggolan on many different occasions. I think people are very quick to criticise De Vrij at the moment just because they know that he's leaving the club. I think he was good tonight. I think he was one of the better players on the pitch. So I understand that it's a concern that we know he's going, but I don't think tonight is an occasion to criticise him necessarily.
No, especially because you have to have a sub there, who plays instead of De Vrij. So if you have a valid option, I think Inzaghi has to put the best 11 players all the time. And if De Vrij is the best player, then he has to play. Again, I thought on one header of Dzeko he could have done better. This is probably his weakness. But overall, he had a good performance, I thought, especially much better than the one on Thursday. So I think, why give an advantage to the other teams? If your best player is leaving, just keep it there. So, you don't have to get rid of him during the season. So, yeah.
No, I think the only other option is putting Luis Felipe into that position, but then you're back in the situation of playing one of the other three as the right centre back, and given Inzaghi's hierarchy, that player is clearly Bastos at the moment. So if you're criticising Stefan De Vrij at the moment, the question you have to ask yourself is, would you rather have Stefan De Vrij playing or Bastos playing? Because that's basically what the decision is. And for me, it's certainly going to be De Vrij ahead of Bastos.
Yeah, and again, I don't know Cáceres, if he's going to play or ever or no. Because, I thought it was worthy giving a chance to him. Maybe Wednesday against Fiorentina. That would be his chance to show his form, if he's ready for Lazio or not. We have Remy Algendi, or did you want to finish with De Vrij and Cáceres?
No, you continue. On you.
Ramy Algendi, great point for us. Could have and should have been much better if not for some awful managing again by Inzaghi. Taking Felipe off was one of our best player, and decision making by players. I feel like Inzaghi believes he has an obligation on playing Luis Alberto because he's on the bench. Even Felipe was fantastic. Our best moment in the game was when Milinkovic-Savic was playing well. I thought Felipe Anderson played well, but at the same time, I thought putting Luis Alberto in was the right decision. Lazio needed to play more the ball instead of trying directly to score with a fast counter-attack. So I thought Inzaghi prepared the match very well and the substitution well. Lukaku came in and I thought he had a good match as possible. So I don't feel to blame Inzaghi for the substitution.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I think I was, like I said at the start of the show, I was surprised in a way to see. Well, not surprised, but I thought Anderson was having a good game and looked quite likely to create something. But this is Inzaghi's policy, is to rotate these three players and make the most of what freshness he's got in his squad. And before criticising him for that, you have to ask, has it had the desired impact? And the fact is, after Anderson came off and Alberto came on and Lukaku came on, we went into a period of the game in which we were dominating for about 15 minutes and creating a lot of chances. So the answer to that is yes, it did have the desired effect. So I don't think you can really criticise Inzaghi for it. And to say it's awful management to do that is laughable, to be honest, because that was, in my opinion, one of the best aspects of Lazio's game tonight, was the fact that Inzaghi seemed to have the upper hand when it came to his substitutions and the way he set his team out. He always had a reaction to what Roma were doing, and for the most part, Lazio were on the front foot. Obviously, the red card late on changed the way of things, but even at that stage of the game, he reacted well, that instead of keeping on Immobile, who was tired and isn't a guy who can hold up the ball, he was smart enough to take him off and move Milinkovic-Savic further up the pitch. So I think from an Inzaghi perspective, I think he had a really good game tonight.
Were you surprised that after the red card, Immobile came out?
No, I mean, like I say, I mean, I was surprised personally. I was surprised initially just because I couldn't work out exactly what he was going to try and do because we haven't seen this before. I thought at first when I saw Bastos warming up that what was going to happen was Alberto would drop back into midfield and he would take off either Milinkovic-Savic or Parolo, probably Parolo, and then keep the same system but just with one up front and Ciro. That's what I thought was the most likely thing to happen, but instead he's a lot smarter than I am, it turns out. And
well, he's the manager and you're not, so there's a reason why, right?
Not yet. Not yet, and so he came up with this kind of 4-4-1 system, which was surprising for all sorts of reasons. Changing to a back four was surprising. Putting Milinkovic-Savic up front was surprising. And all of this was purely reactive on his part because he can't have been expecting necessarily to go down to 10 men. I mean, he must have had a think about it at half time. But I think that really caught Roma off guard because they wouldn't have been preparing to take on a Lazio team that are playing either with a back four or with Milinkovic-Savic as a striker. So when we changed to that system, we managed to defend well, but also actually threaten on the counter-attack a bit. So, I think that was a bit of a masterstroke in a way.
Yeah. Di Francesco spoke and said that Lazio wanted to defend and they were able to do it. We played much better in the second half, and in the final minutes of the match, we could have won it, but we weren't able to finalize all the chances we had. We have to play every match like we did Tuesday, but we have to be better in finishing all the chances we have. Yeah, basically he's saying that Lazio wanted to defend. I totally disagree with that. Lazio tried to play the match. It was Roma that was more counter-attacking. Then, of course, when Lazio was down one man, things changed. But I really don't agree with the Di Francesco words. I don't know what's your thought, but I don't think Lazio came to defend. Lazio tried to win the match and had more ball possession than Roma and played more aggressive than Roma.
Oh, yeah. Of course not. I mean, it's absurd. But that's the derby, isn't it? I mean, he has to come out and say things like that because otherwise the fans won't be happy with him. So.
In the finals, he said, in Europe, the teams doesn't play for defend the result, but try to attack. Lazio was more physical and didn't allow us to play our game. Wow. I'm a little bit surprised, honestly. I thought, Roma defended and tried to counterattack. Lazio was trying to, especially at the beginning of the second half. I thought Lazio played much better than Roma in the second half.
Well, it's a different thing saying a team's being physical and a team's being defensive. You can't complain about either, though. If you're supposedly a big team, and especially if you're a team that's reached the Champions League finals, you can't complain about either of those things anymore. Because those are two tactics which particularly smaller teams will be using against you all the time. So it's ridiculous to suggest that, first of all, it's ridiculous to suggest that Lazio were playing defensively tonight, because they clearly weren't. And then when it comes to a physicality issue, that definitely went both ways. I mean, we've already talked about the tackle on Parolo in the first half. And the amount of tackles that were going in the first half was ridiculous, really. It wasn't really much of a game. So, it's just the words of a man who's trying to justify not getting the result he wanted. That's all it is.
And I think it's good that he talked about physicality because that was a weakness of Lazio in the past. I thought with Milinkovic-Savic, and this is why I think he's really important. He brings that big body that it's really important in matches that can be critical, like the derby or playing against top teams. So it's really important to to have him. Before going and answer all other questions, I thought after a terrible week, the weekend was quite positive for Lazio. Inter draw, Milan draw, Fiorentina draw. So, we arrived to this derby with a very, very good situation. Even losing would have kept everything open because we would have the same points of Inter. So, now we are 1 point ahead of Inter, above Roma for difference goals. So I think the situation is still very good, even though we have a tougher fixture, probably.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I watched the Inter game last night, Atalanta Inter game. I don't know if you saw it, but I thought I was even more encouraged from watching it than I would have been just from seeing the result, because Atalanta deserved to win that game. They had by far the better of the first half, a lot of chances. For some reason, they changed their striker for the second half. A young guy, Musabaro, came off, who was brilliant, and Inter didn't know what to do with him. They changed to a back three, and they didn't really seem to know how to play in that system. They've not scored in their last 3 games now, Inter, as well. Fair enough, they've only conceded 1 goal in their last 3 games, but that's a team with serious problems at the moment. And they've still got, overall we've got a harder run, and like I said a couple of weeks ago, they do still have to play Juventus, as do Roma, and we're done with Juventus now, so that's something as well. I think overall on the weekend, if we're going to draw the derby 0-0, I think it's actually not ended up being too bad a result for us. Obviously, winning it would have been lovely to actually get that a bit of a cushion in third place, but it's still in our own hands. We're still in the top 4, and of the 3 teams, I think Inter are the ones who are struggling the most at the moment, which is better than it being us.
Yeah, well, I think Spalletti has problems, and Inter has problem when Icardi doesn't score. They don't have that many options. The fixture, Lazio is playing Fiorentina next Wednesday, while Inter is playing at home against Cagliari and Roma at home against Genoa. So they should have easier fixture, even though, Cagliari is still fighting for the relegation, while Fiorentina should be quite safe in Europe League. So, it depends. I think this moment of the season, motivation are really keen, are really fundamental. So, it's tougher to play a team like Crotone that's still fighting for not be relegated, that Torino that is 10th and has nothing to fight for.
Well, yeah, definitely. The other thing I was going to say is that if Di Francesco's complete physical and defensive, just wait until he plays Genoa. He's really not going to enjoy that game. So if that's a problem for them, and they've got their mind on the Champions League semi-final as well, if we're going to look for positives after Thursday, which has taken me quite a few days to actually recover from that, I was still very, very angry about that game on Friday and Saturday. But if we're going to look at it now from an objective viewpoint, we don't have the distraction of European football anymore. So if it's down to this kind of 3-way fight for Champions League football, at least that's one other thing that's in our advantage now, is the fact that Roma are going to be giving everything to trying to get to the Champions League final, and these 2 games against Liverpool are going to be huge for them, obviously, and they won't be able to help but being distracted by that. And what we've seen in recent weeks is that when they have been distracted by Champions League, that has had a negative impact on their results in Serie A. The draw, the defeat to Fiorentina that they had just before their last game, for example. So there are things going in our favour here, beyond our own performances. But obviously, the most important thing is still what Lazio produce on the pitch, and like you mentioned before, we don't have an easy run-in, so it's going to still take an awful lot for us to maintain this position.
Yeah, Ramil Gendi asking who are suspended for Fiorentina along with Radu. I think only Radu, right? Or Felipe Luis as well. No, Felipe Luis, that was Europe League. So, now the biggest question is, will Inzaghi change a lot, or he will only sub Radu that is disqualified? I think we're going to see a little bit of rotation, of changing.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell with Inzaghi. He's not a guy who likes rotating too much, but given the few days we've just had, it's possible. I think, in my opinion, if you were going to rotate, I'd rather rotate against Sampdoria next weekend than against Fiorentina. Simply because Sampdoria are on a really bad run of form and we're at home in that game. Whereas Fiorentina have kind of come out of nowhere to suddenly be in contention for Europe again, so that's not going to be an easy game.
Well, but today they didn't win against Spal, and it's only you have really 2 days to rest, and you had another 2 days after Salzburg match. So I don't know. I think something is going to change because they could be really tired. Inzaghi has spoke to Mediaset. It wasn't easy to react after the Europa League match. We played very well. We always been very careful, and with a little bit of more willingness at the end, we could have won. Then when we stayed 10 men down, we tried to not allow Roma to score. We tried to cover a little bit. Felipe Anderson changed too soon. He was playing really well, and he can be not happy to get out, but I had to make a decision. He played really well when Luis Alberto wasn't there. The champions spot, probably we are the intruder, the team that wasn't counted for that. But if we are still there after 32 match, then it's not only for luck. We are a good team, and we'll try to fight for it till the end of the season. This was Simone Inzaghi.
Do you think he's right saying things like that? Do you think he's right to say we're the intruder here and suggest that Lazio shouldn't be where we are and that we're punching above our weight? I'm not convinced by that. I think that can potentially lead to players slacking off a bit if they think that they're overachieving by what they're doing.
No, he didn't say Lazio is overachieving. He said that we are the surprise, but we're going to fight till the end. So I don't think so.
I just think that shouldn't be the message he's giving off. I think it should be that this is where the club should be. This is our position as a Champions League team. Obviously, you have to earn it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't want the club to end up settling for the Europa League.
No, I agree with you. We should be fighting more for that. But as we said last weekend, Gazzetta dello Sport was putting Lazio 9th at the beginning of the season. So you can consider Lazio a surprise in that point. But I think Inzaghi wants to fight for it. So I don't disagree with what he said. We are the surprise, but we're going to fight for the Champions League spot. Again, as I said before, the fixture for Lazio is quite complicated. So we really need to play very well the next matches. The good thing is that I think that the team is in very good condition physically. They're not tired. They're still running a lot, which at this point of the season, after all the match Lazio played, is really, really positive and encouraging.
Yeah, and I heard today that Lazio going into this game were in the exact same number of points and wins as we had last season, but the difference is that we've actually had European football this season as well, in which we've actually gone all the way up until this point. So that's marked progress, I'd say, to be able to keep pace with what the fairly high standards that were set last season, but be able to maintain that alongside European football that's real progress. So obviously the next step is to get in the Champions League. I think something that's worth pointing out after tonight, though, which is a bit of a downer, but is worth remembering, is that in terms of placements in Serie A, it goes down to head above goal difference. So now that we've drawn this game, it means that if we finish level with Roma in Serie A, we're going to finish behind them because we've got the worst head-to-head, despite having the better goal difference. I think that rule was only brought into place, I think, was it 2 years ago? So it does sometimes catch people out.
Yeah. In the meantime, Magnus Agervold, correct me. Roma had 58 ball possession. So Di Francesco has a point. Yes, but in the first half it was equal, and so I think that this went up for Roma in the last 10 minutes when Lazio was one man down and Roma had more ball possession. Anyway, I didn't think that Lazio was defending. Lazio was playing much better, was attacking more than Roma. So.
Yeah, you don't need ball possession to play attacking football.
Yeah.
Watch Liverpool.
Yeah. One thing. What do you think of Strakosha every time he had the ball on his feet? I mean, today he took a huge risk. I mean, if Roma scores like that when he hit Dzeko on his back, I mean, that would have been the end for him, probably.
Yeah, it was like the Higuain moment all over again. It's such an obvious problem with his game. We've talked about this over and over again, but today, yeah, it's not just his kicking. His kicking is a big issue in terms of his accuracy. He far too often just gives it back to the opposition team, but also his judgment is often way off, like it was today, in terms of not realising that he needs to be quicker, and he sometimes overestimates how much time he's got on the ball.
I don't know. It's funny because
he pulled off a good save today as well. It's worth mentioning that. So it's not all bad, but that is still a big issue.
I was talking only when he has the ball on his feet, and it's funny because again he started the season very well there. Even when he had to pass the ball, he was really good. Again, I don't know if something changed and he starts struggling. On the other side, he made a very good save tonight, and was always very careful. So I think he's a very good goalkeeper. Of course, he has to improve there, but even Alisson today made a bad mistake. So these are things that can happen with the goalkeepers. So it's just that now that I know it, every time he has the ball on the feet, I feel myself in danger because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, right towards the end of the game as well. I think it was even in injury time
when he had the cramp. Yeah,
and he booted the ball straight back to Roma halfway, and they just launched another attack. Yeah, I mean that's got to be improved upon. I don't know if it's the outfield players need to present him with more options when he's got the ball at his feet, or if it's simply just a case of his own distribution and his decision making needs improved. But it's definitely a big weakness in his game.
Yeah, he can improve, I think. In the meantime, Felipe Anderson tweeted saying that in his birthday, this is the biggest present, playing and fight for you, Lazio fan. Thanks for cheering up. It was a special day, and for me and for the rest of the team. So it doesn't look he's very upset, which is good.
Happy birthday, Felipe Anderson.
Yeah, I hope he celebrate with a goal, but he still played well, so it was a good match. So
he's 25 now. He's old.
Yeah, he's getting old. Time to transform and become a champion.
Yeah, he's still got a bit of time, but yeah, he's not quite the breakthrough young star that he once was.
Yeah, I agree. We were hoping a little bit more. So, Alistair, if there are not any more questions, I think we can close it here.
Okay.
Before closing, guys, you maybe know that doing a podcast is not cheap, especially when you have Alistair McKenzie all the time with you. He's really expensive. You cannot imagine how much. We are talking about Cristiano Ronaldo's fee. So, and Spreaker as well, where we host our podcast, is not free. So, we have a lot of expenses, but we didn't want to make the podcast a paid podcast. So what we decided is open a shop with our merchandising. So if I'm going to post the link afterwards, if you like the show and want to help us some way, then there are some little merchandising available for you wherever you are, and a part of that will go to us to repay the fees we have and have Alistair on our show more often. I know we're talking about Cristiano.
I don't think you're giving people much of an incentive there.
Yeah, well, if you want to pay us to not have Alistair anymore, that's fine as well. Just let us know. Apart from that, you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, on Spreaker, follow our YouTube channel that is going really well, and talk to you next Wednesday after Lazio-Fiorentina. Bye, Alistair. Thank you very much for joining me.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.